On you, Chris. Good on you, mate.
There.
You good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Any insults
Alice just
before we
rolls
get
in, has a seat, puts the heater on.
I'm the talent. He's
then-
the post-production guy.
I think I'm everything but the talent at this stage.
You're the hidden talent. I'm the obvious talent.
Yeah.
It's hard being in the shadows, isn't it, Chris? Are we rolling?
We're rolling.
All right. Welcome back to the Progress Lab. We have a very intelligent and special guest today, Marissa Punshon. Incidentally, my favourite new surname ever that I've ever heard. But welcome to the Progress Lab. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It's Punshon.
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 Yeah, I love that.
Yep.
It's amazing. Marissa, in your own words, what do you do?
I work with business owners to help them understand their numbers so they can create a business that gives them financial freedom, and then they can live life on their own terms.
Amazing.
In a nutshell.
Okay. And does financial freedom, because I think we hear that term a lot, don't we? It's kind of a bit of a buzzword, I guess, in your space. Do you tend to find that that means different things to different people?
Yes, and that's where it's living your life on your own terms. So for some people, financial freedom could mean having 10 investment properties. For other people, it could be having the weekends to themselves.
Yes.
Or having a caravan and going down the coast. So it does vary. And when I work with people, the first thing we do is actually sit down and say, well, what do you want your life to give you? And so therefore, what can your business do in order to help you get there?
Okay, cool. And so what would you say the difference is then? Because I'm thinking about people that, because if I'm honest with myself, to me, financial freedom is never having to think about money, because I don't really like to think about it.
Just like to spend it.
Because I'm aggressively uninterested in, there's certain people that they want to watch it grow. They want to put their money into different stocks and sort of they're really, really interested in, I've got friends that check in every day and see things grow. I'm like, I cannot think of anything more aggressively boring for my brain than that. So is my definition of financial freedom not wanting to think about it, is that a little bit short-minded? And do you find people that sort of have that as a goal, but you're like, hey, that's actually not financial intelligence?
That's interesting. And just to flip that, what do you want? What do you want your money to give you in life?
I want to just go tap, tap, and I want the card to go green whenever I decide that I want
Chanel
to
bag.
buy something. I don't have Chanel bags.
So what do you have to do? What actions do you have to take in order to do that, get that result?
Well, I guess you'd say there has to be enough in the bank at all times for me to not have to check it before I tap.
Okay, so how do you know how much is enough?
Well, if it goes red, that's not enough.
No, yes.
Yeah. And I guess I see what you're doing. You're sort of digging into let's put some actual numbers behind that. And so would a step then be to sort of reflect on the spending and go, this is a ballpark?
Yes, or what you could do is you could work out, I like going out to dinner once a week. I want to have a big purchase once a month of, say, $1,000 and I want to travel once a year. So how much will that cost? And then you put money aside into a different bank account so you know that you can tap. And if it's red, it means you've gone over what you can spend. If it's green, you haven't. But if it goes red all the time, then you look and say, okay, let's reevaluate it. Maybe we need to put more money in there, or we need to then alternatively decrease that sort of expenditure.
So are you saying that for people that kind of, I guess, bury their head in the sand about finance and they're just like, I just don't want to know about it, but I just want to be able to spend. Are you saying that it is still an intelligent idea to have ballpark numbers and to have a certain level of financial intelligence?
Yes.
And intelligence around what their situation is?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. That's it.
Awesome.
Yep.
And this sort of leads into a really interesting topic because, we touched on this right before we started recording, but, I'm your classic married woman. I don't really care about the money I earn, but I spend, but husband takes care of all of it because I don't find it interesting. And you were sort of saying that's quite a common occurrence. And then where that can go, pardon my French, but tits up is when there's a separation or when there's God forbid, a death or a change in those circumstances, and then you have one partner that doesn't know where everything is, where everything comes from, doesn't know anything, right?
Absolutely, and that's very common. It's extremely common. So we've got this whole generation of women, particularly women 50, 60, 70, that have put their head in the sand.
Boomers, because that was very accepted, wasn't it?
Exactly,
Yes.
because, you know, it was, don't worry about it, you're a woman, I'll take care
I
of
got
it on the
this
next.
love, yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then the male partner dies or they get separated and then the woman doesn't know what to do. And so there's two things that can happen. The first thing is that they lose out financially because they've got no idea anyway, and so they come out worse off. Or they've got to stand on their own 2 feet and then learn how to have those skills that if they'd had years ago, it would have prevented this from happening.
And so if somebody's sort of listening to this and they're like, oh, like I feel a bit exposed by that, like myself, like maybe there needs to be a little bit more of an understanding around shared finances and where my assets and money actually are. Because I have them, I just don't know where they are.
Yeah, same. My partner would have no idea.
Yeah. What would be the sort of bare minimum criteria? Like if a couple came to you, what are the sort of things that you tick off that's like, this is what you need to know?
Okay. Well, the first thing we do is when I work with couples is we go through a values exercise where they work out. One partner might say, look, for me, I want to, I can go to fantastic furniture and furnish the house. I'm happy with an old car and let's just head down to the coast for holidays. Whereas the other partner might say, oh, well, no, I don't really want to do that. I want an interior designer. I want to go to Europe every year. And I want more. So first of all, it's working out, being on the same page. What do we want together as a couple, our life to look like, and how much money do we need? That because if they're real, I mean, my husband and I are very different. So he's very simple. He calls himself a simple man, which is good because it means he spends less money.
So it's a beautiful partnership.
It is a beautiful partnership. If he was high maintenance, it wouldn't work as well. And he's not. He's not. So that works out well for us. However, we've worked out a really good middle ground. And so we know exactly what we want in life.
Ticking off the minimum criteria, where does someone start to have that literacy? Like the bare minimum literacy.
Yeah. Well, it's sharing the responsibility. So it's knowing, where your home loan is, how much money you've got owing, superannuation, how many bank accounts you've got, are there any other debts? Just really mapping out your full financial picture of exactly where you stand. Because if you could be at a different stage in your life where you might have a mortgage and then you've got kids and then you might want to educate them privately, or you've got those completely different goals. So it's sitting down together and saying, well, how are we going to achieve these goals? And where is our money and how much do we need and can we do that? Is it feasible to do that?
Yes.
Or do we just, so therefore what do we give up in order to achieve this? Or do we not give up certain things and then change where we want to go? So it's those sorts of conversations. And interestingly, Scott Pape, the Barefoot Investor, he talks about having date nights, money date nights, where you sit down together as a couple and and it sounds a bit boring, but you sit down and you talk about your finances and how you're going and what your goals are. So it's about keeping that conversation open, and also I know if the partner that has the full responsibility, it is a lot of responsibility for them as well.
Yeah, it's a mental load, isn't it?
It is a mental load because something might happen and they might think, I don't really want to worry them about it. I won't say anything, and then it could build resentment. So having that, being really open and honest with your money.
Yeah, for sure.
And having that shared responsibility for where it's going, so that, like you said, if something goes off track, there's no blame because it's a shared responsibility.
We've pointed the ship in this direction. So you've got sit down, figure out your values, figure out what you both would like from it. So that way you can kind of start moving in a direction, because obviously most of these goals take time. 1 year, 2 year, 3 years, whatever it is. Once you've done that, Scott Pape kind of date night, just to kind of lay out where most things are. If someone like Alice kind of like rolls her eyes at the thought of that date night, what would be, is there a minimum that needs to happen there, or is there another step that can be skipped, and it's kind of like, well, for the very least you need to get a will involved, you need to get things involved that like, so that if something was to happen, she has a document that shows these are our bank
I'd like
accounts.
a cheat sheet, please.
Yeah, like a cheat sheet. Yeah.
That's actually a good idea.
Yeah.
I'll do that. Okay. Yes. Yep. I'd also dig down and say, what is it that's stopping you from wanting to embrace your numbers?
That's a very interesting question, and I think it's probably multifaceted, and I probably represent a lot of people in the same situation.
Tracy doesn't want to know.
No,
She doesn't
whereby
want to know
it's
at all.
almost
It's too stressful for her.
Stressful.
Yeah, she finds it very
potentially stressful. Potentially there's this perceived notion that I just have too much other stuff to deal with. Potentially there's this sort of, I guess the unwillingness to take on the mental load of something else. It's probably multifaceted, and also just someone like me in my personality, if something is slightly uninteresting to me, I find it incredibly difficult to engage. So, and then probably just I think we get to a certain age where we're sort of resistant to learning something new. Because we sort of feel like, I've gotten this far without it. I don't even want to sort of peek my head into that. It's just not interesting enough. So perhaps it would be something that once you sort of start learning, it gets a little bit easier, and it's sort of like not so big. And you're like, this is actually not a big deal. It's just an awareness, potentially. Is that the sort of feedback? Like, do you get a sort of similar story with clients that you see, or do you see people sort of start to get that literacy and be like, oh, God, this is a lot more than I thought?
Well, you did raise an interesting point where you said, is it just something else I've got to deal with? And I get that being a mum. There is a lot to juggle.
Yeah.
But when you have a family and you're juggling everything, if something goes wrong with your finances, it causes extra stress. And that's where a lot of marriages break down.
Yes. Yeah, that's one of the key ones with marriages and relationships, isn't it? Financial disagreements or not being on the same page.
Exactly. And if you're struggling financially, then that's when, the arguments start.
Sure.
And so the question is, how important is it to you to prevent that and to actually just step into empowering yourself around your numbers and doing it slowly, like just doing it really slowly and knowing what do I have to know?
Yes.
You may not have to take control of everything.
Bills and everything.
No.
Where's our statement at?
Exactly. You sit down and say, okay, we owe this much on the house. We've got this much in super. We're looking at retiring at this date. We what if we look at paying down the house mortgage faster and then boosting our super, or why don't we salary sacrifice and put more in super? Or it could be just choosing the big ticket items initially and then saying, okay, if we've got to do that, where will we find the money, the extra money in order to invest in those? Or having conversations around purchasing. Like, do we need to purchase that car at this point in time? Can we purchase something, a car that doesn't have heat seaters? Or something?
No, those are essential.
No, I know. But so evaluating what we have to do now, because it's not forever. It's not forever.
Yeah.
It's like
short-term pain, long-term gain.
Exactly. Look where we are. Like, how much short-term pain for long-term gain is there here? How often do people have to walk through this door and say, I don't want to be here. I'd rather be in bed, but I'm here because I know I want to achieve this at the end. It's exactly the same with your money.
Sure. Yeah.
Exactly the same. It may not be pleasant. And I know from my own experience, I had nothing to do with finances. With my parents never talked about it. We were okay.
Yeah.
I dropped maths in year 10. I hated numbers.
Wow.
I studied Indian history at university and literature, and all of a sudden here I am teaching people how to manage money. So it's not like you have to be born and bred in order to go that direction.
That's such a good point. It's actually so empowering to hear you say that, because I think the common narrative, and if I'm really honest with myself, I think I perpetuate that in my own thought process, is that you're either a numbers person or you're not, or you're either a person that's interested in finance or you're not, and I'm just not. So I'm not even going to look at any of it. Whereas as you just sort of pointed out, it's not as black and white as that.
Absolutely. And things will happen. With me, I ended up with someone who worked in the building industry. Back in the 90s, I remember when my son was born, he walked in and said, there's no work. And I thought, well, I can't go to work. I've just had a baby a few hours ago.
Maybe not the right time to bring that up, just quietly.
Now you bring it up.
Exactly. Yeah. And, for him, it was just the building industry in the 90s was awful. It was either really good or it was really bad.
Yeah.
So we had to learn very, very quickly. When times were good, we had to manage our money and we had to have a buffer put aside. And I learnt that for me, it was just too stressful not having money. It was too stressful not knowing if we were going to be able to do the things we wanted to do. And personally, I'm very driven to live life on my own terms, which means doing things that I want to do. And quite often that involves money. So I worked out, okay, we need to save. We need to have a plan.
Yeah, and I'm just reflecting, as you speak about that. And, I think it's important to mention the privilege of being in a position where you can say, oh, I don't care about money. Like, not everybody gets to be in that position. And just because I'm in that position now doesn't mean I'm going to be forever. Like you said, things change and things go wrong. And there would be people listening to this, or many, 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 many people out there that's like, yeah, I wish I didn't have to think, I could be just like, oh, I don't want to think about it. But I have to because, the how far this has to stretch is from payday to payday or whatever is right to the edge. And that's a significant portion of people.
It's huge. It's huge.
Is that where someone like you kind of comes in, is almost like as a mediator when you help? Because you said you had this thing that you give the couples to help with the values.
Yes, yeah.
Because how I think about it from my perspective is that like Tracy is a phenomenal saver and was really good with money in terms of like when she lived with her parents. So she was the reason why we got our first house in the first place. But once we moved into our first house together, that was her first experience living out of home. When the bills started rolling in, it was very stressful for her. And so as long as she's told how much the expenses are, she can save really well. And over time, that then grew into me being in control of the majority of the finances. Obviously, we make decisions together around holidays, and we've split it up in a way where I have my savings, Trace has her savings, and our house has its own savings. So then that way we can, how it works. But like right now, if something was to happen, she wouldn't know the mortgages, she wouldn't know the expenses, but my accountant does. Is that where like I could, because she's on she has access to all of that, even if she doesn't realize it. She just has to call up my accountant and be like, I'm Chris's partner. Is that where if something happened to me, she would call my accountant, or in your case, clients would call you to help with that transition? Or what would it look like, let's say something did happen to me?
You'd look at the person that is the gatekeeper, let's say, for want of a better word.
Yeah.
Are they going to be able to ensure that the path is smooth moving forward? Or is it just going to be very transactional of, here you go, here's all the finances, by the way, you've got a $50,000 tax debt.
Yes, yeah.
So it's not black and white. And that's where knowing really think about, like, if you die tomorrow, God forbid, what would Tracy do?
And that's, I have no idea. That's where I'm like, I have my accountant to do the tax for the business and for the household on Monday. It's like just making sure that if something happened to me, you guys would be able to tell her where everything is. Because my advice to her is always like, if I was to go, sell everything. Sell the business, sell the equipment, sell everything, and then just try to survive as best you can. But there is no plan. We talk about getting a will. We talk about all these things. Yes. No, not at the moment, no.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, do you have a will?
No.
I was going to say.
You guys.
I'm hoping you wasn't going to say that.
In the lead up to this conversation, because this topic has come up a couple of times within the gym, people have talked about wills and just about how you need to have one, but they're not that great at the same time in terms of like if someone was to come and fight or argue or so it's like my theory, which I'm going to chat with my accountant and then obviously we have to go get a will done, is that like within the next month we have a will sorted. My accountant knows that if something happens to me, Tracy's now obviously in control of everything. Maybe everything goes into the trust, so then that way it doesn't get lost along the way, as I imagine it does. Like, obviously as I say that sounds terrible, but what would you suggest for somebody like in our position? Is that sort that stuff out as soon as possible? Is it like speak to your accountant or speak to somebody like yourself? What does that look like?
I immediately think that you're putting a lot of trust in someone separate who doesn't have that emotional connection with you and your family.
Yeah.
So they're an accountant.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's their job.
They are.
They're not there
person.
to advise on sell this and buy this and all that sort of stuff, though, right?
Yeah, their best interest is to tick the boxes of, okay, this is what I was told I have to do, bang, bang, bang.
Yeah.
But not looking at the
long term.
The long term or the emotional turmoil that Tracy might be experiencing, having to deal with it all.
Yeah, making phone calls to tell banks he's no longer with us and all that type of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So I would never rely on one person to do all that, whether it be an accountant or someone like me.
Okay.
I would use that person as a partner in the whole
process.
But I would still, I think I'd have a conversation with Tracy.
Yeah.
And then...
Because it's also about her being able to speak the same language as the accountant as well, right? And that basic literacy piece, being able to be like, even if that person, I guess, is managing things from a higher end,
for sure,
or more detailed level or whatever.
Yeah.
Does she have the literacy to speak the same language to communicate what the needs are of the family?
Yes, exactly. And money is an emotional thing.
Of course.
So where it's just transactional, that's only taking care of one facet. But it would, I personally think, if she stepped into things a little bit more and took a bird's eye view of exactly what's happening, it would reassure her if something did happen to you that she knows what to do.
For sure.
And I'm not saying you can't trust anybody, but so many people get ripped off.
For sure.
By
Really?
financial advisors.
Really?
Yeah. Are you being sarcastic?
No.
No.
I'm not.
I have that constant question every day. I have that question every
That's
day.
scary to me.
She taking the piss here, or is this?
No,
serious?
that's
I know.
scary to me.
Yeah.
Because you would sort of just
absolutely.
imagine. I mean, even when we had a broker to buy our house, I was just sort of like, whatever you say, I'm not going to question it because you're the expert. So
They've got their favourite banks to get kickbacks from.
Yes.
Yeah. There was something it's funny. We were talking about side quest. We were talking about financial advisors in the gym, and one of the guys here who's in his 50s was like, don't trust any of them because of stuff that was happening in the 90s. And I was like, oh, it's all different now and this, that, the other. And a friend of mine went, and the amount of money they're saving just on interest alone across their loans will mean that they'll pay things off 15 years quicker or whatever. Don't trust them. Don't care. So, yeah, it's funny how common that is that there's like obviously you have to do due diligence anyway.
Yes. Yes.
But yeah, you're right. And look, I think with my accountant, not to say my accountant's different by any stretch of the means, but I have known this man my whole life. He's known Tracy, or the owner of the company at the very least. But you are right. It's like finding somebody that you trust. And then, Tracy has to have some level of base knowledge.
Yes.
And that's what it seems to all come back to, right?
Yes.
It's just like there is no magic bullet. Like really the best way to protect yourself is to at least just have that basic level that we spoke about earlier, that bird's eye view of where your finances are. Like it's really not advantageous in any situation to not know, right?
Oh, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And you could have a really good accountant and someone who's really honest, but it's I could open up a Pandora's box here. So yeah, you could have someone who's great and who'll hold your hand and just help you all the way through.
Yeah.
You could find someone who thinks, well, they don't really know a lot, so I won't spend as much time with them. I'll just get things done as quickly as possible. But the people that are asking all the questions, I need to spend more time with.
Yeah.
Or you could have an advisor who just looks and says, well, they're vulnerable and they don't know anything. We'll just
take them for what they've got.
Yeah, exactly.
Also, you've known this man, your accountant, your whole life. What if you and him, God forbid, got in a car accident? He also died.
Oh, for sure.
And so there was someone else taking his place.
Yeah. This conversation is definitely highlighted, obviously.
Yeah.
It's one of those age-old things that, like, when we've had this conversation 10 plus years ago, there wasn't children in the mix. It was a much simpler thing. When we had our first home, it was technically Tracy's home. We decided, because I was going to start a business, I was not on title, all that type of stuff. But it's 12 years down the track now. Everything's kind of mixed. We have 3 children in the mix.
That actually leads me to another big area that I wonder if you come across a lot. And that is when one, in the context of a partnership, when one person is doing domestic labour, unpaid domestic labour at home, which of course very, very common for more common for the woman to do that. How are some of the ways, apart from obviously open communication and all that sort of thing, how are some of the ways which particularly the woman in that circumstance can protect herself financially because it might be the first time in a relationship that she's not bringing in any outside money. However, as we know, she's working. Someone has to do that. So, I guess if a couple is going through that upcoming transition perhaps, what are some smart things that they can do as a couple to ensure that A, it's fair and B, that
Sister
there's not
gets
going to
paid.
be any sister gets paid.
Yeah.
But there's not going to be any, I guess, resentment down the track. A couple of things that my husband and I did because we were in this situation were, and they were just like little conversations, but I'd say something like, I can't have the spending gate kept just because I'm not bringing in the money. Like it can't be I'm spending your money. It's all our money.
Yep.
And just like little sort of things like that. These are the things that will make me feel disempowered when we're in this situation. But from a practical standpoint, what are some steps that people can take?
Well, I think exactly that you're very open with that you still work together on the finances and you still have equal rights to the bank account because your partner could not go out and do the job he does if you weren't there looking after the kids.
Yeah.
So it's
Correct.
just as important.
Yes.
Just as important. And throughout the years in business, I've been in a lot of groups, networking groups, where most of them have been men, and they've been able to be there at 7:30 in the morning to have breakfast because their wife's taking care of everything or their partner's taking care of everything. So it's
me 5 days a week when I'm here at 5:30 in the morning. Yeah.
Exactly. So the contribution, your contribution, even though it's unpaid, is just as important. And putting you on an allowance, which does happen, is
That feels gross to me.
it's awful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awful. Why?
Yeah.
Why is that?
Yeah.
And now, and as women, it's also empowering other women to understand that if you stay home and look after the kids and work part-time or don't work at all or whatever you want to do and you're still contributing, it's just as important. Just as important.
Is there, if someone wanted to be, because I think it can be simple to have these conversations before the kids come.
Yes.
And then, you can sort of feel like you're on, this is not my example, but I'm just sort of extrapolating out. Maybe a couple could feel like they're on the same page, but then all of a sudden there's some little comments or there's some more money's going into, let's say, the husband or the father's private bank account, or let's say it's just not set up for that to be as sort of transparent and shared as it should be. Should couples just get a lawyer as a sort of
Mediator.
preempting kind of mediation, or like are those extreme measures a good idea in some cases?
It might come to that, but you could have steps beforehand. You could have the conversations. Maybe you could go to like someone like me where you could put everything on the table and sort out a plan.
Yeah.
And then if that doesn't work, you go to a lawyer. But then if you're in a relationship with someone and you've got to get legal help because one partner feels like they're being financially trapped or like financial abuse is huge.
Yeah.
Then there's an issue there.
Yes.
There is a
for
real
sure.
issue there.
Yeah, for sure. So someone like you would almost be the perfect person to just say, like, because I think as well, some people just don't know what it should look like, know, because we're, my generation is, the boomers are my parents. And like you said, it was just so common for the men has all the finances, controls it all, allowances, things like that.
Yes.
And so a lot of, I think, people in my generation are like, well, what actually is fair? I don't know. I don't know what it is. Whereas I imagine going to see someone like you could say, actually, this is what's considered really fair in the finance world because of the things you just mentioned, which they might not know. Like, hey, understand that when you're in these board meetings and you're, taking all these work calls, you could not do that if somebody wasn't with your children, your equally shared children. So
absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I imagine that's a really good, step.
It is. And a few years ago, a very close family friend of mine was dying, and they didn't die because they ended up having a transplant. But he called me in, and we went through all of the finances while his wife sat there, and I felt completely uncomfortable that I was being brought in to go through all their money. I thought, this is not my role. I should not have to step in and do this. And I also found that when my dad was dying, that he pulled me in to go through everything. And my stepmom was, too much for me.
Yes. Yeah. So what you're saying is like intervene sooner. Like
so it's less scary.
Exactly. And want to be part of it. Because it's so important. Money causes a lot of pain in people's lives.
Yeah,
a lot, whether you have none or whether you have a lot. It's a real trigger. And most relationships, I think, if you have a look at the breakdown, money would have something to do with it in some form.
We had a sex therapist on the podcast a little while ago, and I never asked her this question on it, but she trains here, Aliona, and she actually said that how couples are with money in their relationship can tell her a lot about how they are in the bedroom.
Interesting.
Yeah.
We were throwing out some words, weren't we? Generous, selfish,
controlling.
Controlling. Yeah.
Free.
Stingy.
But it's also like there's so many different, I guess, layers, especially when you're, I guess, creating a family, partnering up, moving in together, that kind of thing. And again, we just use our own situations as, I guess, like a sounding board, but I'm thinking from my own context. And my partner and I were quite lucky because when we got together, we actually earned really similar money, had really similar assets, had a lot of the things were really aligned. And I've often sort of had my mind wander to, well, what is fair and what happens when you have two drastic, a partnership that wants to come together in some fair but, I guess, loving relationship sense, but there's massive disparity between maybe one earns twice, 3 times what the other one earns, maybe one comes in with a huge amount of debt, bad debt or otherwise, maybe one comes in with much more assets, and then we add in the sort of attitudes towards money, which we've already sort of talked about. For a couple in that situation, and we're talking a lot about couples, but I think that's where it gets complicated, right? Because when it's your own, it's your own. It's just sort of like you automatically have full control over that. But again, is it sort of the best sort of early intervention to perhaps go and see someone like yourself to say like, hey, what is fair in this circumstance? Like where is a happy middle ground where it's going to not feel super transactional, but also it's going to protect this and, pay homage to that because, there's a lot going on in that example.
Yeah, putting cards on the table.
Yeah.
Exactly. You nailed it.
Yeah.
Putting it out there, just saying, this is what it is.
Yes.
What's the plan?
Yes. Yeah. And so would someone like yourself give advice on this is generally what I consider as a third party that doesn't know you guys to be fair in this circumstance?
I would work with them to help them work out what is fair themselves.
Yeah. That's up to them.
Exactly. So I wouldn't tell them, okay, you do this.
Yeah.
I'd present a safe space for them to then just put it all on the table and work it out themselves.
Yeah. And land somewhere they're both comfortable.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But if you scratch deeper or dig deeper, you've also got to look at the mindset and the families that each
came from. For sure.
So that could be an issue.
Yeah,
will
for
come
sure.
up. as well.
And what do you mean by that? Can you flesh that out a little bit more, like examples?
Well, one partner may have come from a family where they may have struggled, money may be hard to get, wealthy people are really bad people. You've got to work hard for money.
Yeah.
Yep.
Shouldn't make it. Don't make too much.
Don't make it. Yeah. Be a good person.
Yeah.
You know. Or maybe and I've worked with a lot of people whose parents have been migrants, and every time they've made the child has made money, they've spent it really quickly because they feel that if they reach that financial threshold over and above what their parents had earned and worked really hard to earn, then they feel this guilt. So they might come from that side, whereas the other partner might have come from a family where they were told to, from the age of 5, put money away, savings and do this. And so there's that comes into
you got one
the
that wants to
mix.
spend, one that wants to save.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It really does colour a lot of the way we behave in a lot of situations because you don't name a day when you don't either earn or spend money. Like we're doing it all the time. You can't escape it.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I guess it's colouring our attitudes towards things all the time, isn't it?
It is. It is. And how we were brought up and what we believe money to be and to represent is so powerful, and it comes in every facet of our lives. So if you've got one partner that's going that way with their beliefs and the other one that's going that way, it's either not going to work or you've got to get together and have a very similar.
For sure.
And then I imagine, we've touched on this, those like financial date nights, because that attitude might change over time, right? And it might depend on
it's like any
lots
goal,
of
right?
different things.
As you move towards a goal, things kind of shift a little bit. You kind of realize it becomes a bit more clear as to like this is not the way we want to go.
Yeah, or like, someone's one partner's attitude, this is my attitude, if you're really open and honest about this is sort of my attitude towards money and spending and whatever, that's not necessarily going to be the same in 5 years. So I guess it's not really enough to just have one conversation set and forget. It's got to be part of the growth of the partnership and the family and the individual as well, right?
Exactly. You could sit down and have certain goals, assuming this is the way life's going to go.
Yeah.
But then one of you might lose your job or get be in business and the business collapses or get a pay rise or things go well.
Yeah,
and,
sure.
things will change.
Yeah.
They'll always change.
Yes.
It is a lifelong dedication.
And it evolves, right? It's the same within the gym. People come in, they're like, I want to lift X weight. They kind of get closer. They're like, I'm kind of having fun over here now. Like that would be nice to do. But I'm also realizing the commitment for that, maybe I don't want to spend that much time on that. I want to spend time over here.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. Let's talk just from a practical standpoint about investments, debts, all of those sort of buzzwords that we hear, like crypto, all those kind of things. So the context, I guess, that I'm coming from is, let's say an individual or a family or a couple or whatever find themselves with an excess amount of liquid assets that they don't necessarily need to spend. They've sort of identified that it's just sitting there, basically. Let's say an inheritance or something like that. How does one start by knowing what to do with that money? Because I think most of us know, like, don't just leave it sitting there. You've got to put it either somewhere high interest or something that's going to earn something, or in property that's going to increase in value, or, those sort of basic things. But where do you start knowing where to put money?
2 things. You speak to the right person that can advise you, but also do your own research. So whatever decision you make, you know that within yourself, you've done as much research and got as much knowledge around it that you feel at that time it's the right decision to make.
And where would one start by doing that research? Because I also imagine there's probably a lot of misinformation out there. So if people are, especially people with that sort of lower financial literacy, if they're just Googling or going on like Reddit to read other people's experiences or whatever, especially in the online space, that can skew them down some path that may not be that accurate for their situation. And then same again, if they're just sort of like, oh, well, I'll ask all of my friends, everyone's going to have a layer of their own bias. So where would someone find in that research the best information that's not biased?
Gee, that's really hard because what is the best information?
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a hard one.
Yeah.
You did mention crypto, and when you said that, I immediately thought there are some things that if you've got money and you want to invest in, you would, and even buying shares that are not that don't have a history of return. Yeah.
It's higher risk
It's
stuff.
the high risk. I put money away knowing that if you lose it, it's gone. That's it. And it's not going to cause any huge issues. But if it's something that's really big, like buying a property or, investing something that's very considerable, I think you'd need to speak to a lot of different people to get that feel as though you've got the right person.
for
And
sure.
then also, it is like, it's like, how long's a piece of string?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But understanding yourself, doing your own research as well, even if it is Googling or having people that you follow and you know that they've been pretty good with their advice, and then still speaking to other people, that financial advisors or mortgage brokers or, and just
And perhaps trusted ones. So like in
Friends of friends that have
yeah, if
recommended.
Chris goes, look, my accountant's great. I've known him since I was a blah, blah, blah. You're sort of getting those slightly more trusted sources. But I think from what you're saying, there's still a lot of risk involved. There is no magic solution. And it's still sort of depending on which way you go, it's either going to pay off better or worse. Like you just never really know, right? No one has a crystal ball.
No, you don't know. And a lot of very successful, wealthy people have been bankrupt.
Yes.
For sure.
Yeah.
So
I remember reading, there's a Morgan Hansel. Have you heard Morgan Hansel? He's got the book, The Psychology of Money.
oh, yeah.
I think that's how you say his name. In that, he essentially talks about how post-World War II, if you were in Germany, the last thing you would have done is invest in stocks. So, like, typically speaking, German people on average are more fearful of the stock market. But post-World War II, America had a huge boom in the stock market. So it also depends on the time that you're living in, the location you're living in. But I'm going to steer this topic even further away from what Alice likes to talk about. So, Profit First.
Yes.
It's almost the first book that I give anybody that starts a business
Yes.
after, like,
Yes.
the E-Myth and some other things like that.
Oh, yeah, the E-Myth's great.
And even one of the guys was here before who's looking to start his own business. And can you, because obviously I want to tie it in because I feel like not many people that listen to us say run their own businesses, but I feel like there's so many good takeaways. Like, even though Tracy had all of the finances kind of sorted, if I hadn't read Profit First, I don't think I'd be in the position I'm in now. What do you think is for those that don't know what it is, maybe a little bit of a blurb about it, and then like, why is it so important? Because it seems to do the opposite to what accountants would tell you to do.
Yes, it flips the equation.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as business owners, we're taught that sales take away expenses equals profit, and profit is what's left over. However, profit is also a number on the bottom of a profit and loss. And a business owner will look at that and your accountant will say, oh, you made a profit, so you're going to pay tax on that profit. But there's not money in the bank to reflect that.
So I feel half the time. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's where Profit First flips it as well. So the whole strength behind Profit First is money comes in and then you put profit first, hence the name. But it's not just putting money into a profit account. You also put money into an account for tax. Owners pay as well.
Yeah.
And operating expenses. So you allocate things into different bank accounts, so you know that you've always got money put aside. So when BAS comes up, it's like, oh, it doesn't matter, I've got the money, I'll pay it.
Yeah. That's literally saved me because, I would always do that to the point of I'd actually pay it straight to the tax man, and my bookkeeper would message me like, "Hey, Chris, you owe nothing. Like you're actually ahead $1,000 and you're ahead more." And so like, is that where? So because obviously Profit First seems to be from the outside the basis of the model that you use, and from that model, is that how you've taken it to financial freedom for people adjacent to the business, whether it be the wife or the partner? Is like, how did you go from, say, the Profit First model to, say, supporting people, supporting women when they've moved on from partners, or any partner really if they've lost a partner? Because for me it feels very similar in terms of like, it sounds complicated, but when it's all laid out in front of you, it's so simple. Like I had someone explain to me like buckets. I've got my GST bucket, I've got my this bucket.
Yes.
And then if you extrapolate that out into a relationship, you have one partner, two partner, whatever it works out. Yeah. Is that how you went from Profit First to helping support people with their financial freedom or literacy, if that makes sense?
It was the opposite.
Oh, okay.
It was the opposite.
Yeah.
So just in a nutshell, I had a bookkeeping business with staff. Xero came along back in 2010. Loved it. Decided that we were just going to use Xero. Clients moved over to Xero. I worked with them to training and consulting, so understanding how to use it.
Yep.
And I worked out very quickly that most of them didn't understand their numbers. And then
your bookkeepers or your clients?
The clients.
Yes. Yeah.
Didn't understand the numbers at all.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, this is an issue here. And then I also saw that it was a very emotional
topic.
Trigger for them. I thought, okay, this is interesting. So we've got financial education and we've also got emotional money mindset beliefs around this. So that took me down that path. With women, I've got my own story regarding that, and just in a nutshell as well. My mum was an entrepreneur back in the 1970s, so she was a fashion designer and she was fairly successful as well. But she got sick with cancer and she passed away when she was 43 and I was 11.
Wow.
So I've always had this, and things were not too good at home. So I've always had this drive, and it's just in me. It's just like a seed that's been planted to help empower women become financially independent and not do it through stress and anguish and everything else that then drives you to illness and eventual death. So they're the three things that have then molded me to become who I am and what I do.
So how many people would reach out to you that don't have a business? Like right now, let's say there's a woman listening and she's like, I need more information. I don't even know what to ask my partner. Is that something that they would contact you and have a consult over the phone? Is that like, say, step one, and then you're like, oh, cool, you can either bring the family in, or these are the questions like the cheat sheet that Alice mentioned before. These are the things that I would mention. Go and have a conversation with your partner. Because it seems like, because obviously Profit First is business, right?
Yeah.
But it seems like a passion of yours is irrespective of the business. It's the financial literacy, and you said something at the start about living life
on your own terms.
Yeah. So has it almost turned from a bookkeeping business into like a consulting?
Yeah, it has.
Business. Oh,
it
amazing.
Has. Yeah. It just morphed.
Yeah,
it morphed, and I just then didn't need any staff because I just consulted myself. I went to school at night to do accounting. I went to the States to do a Dream Builder program with Mary Morrissey and to learn all the work around energy and your mindset and creating a blueprint for the life you want to lead. So I just threw myself into it all.
I think that's brilliant. And I think what I'm sort of thinking as I heard you both talking then is it seems to be, and let me know if you agree, I think a lot of people have the limiting belief that they don't necessarily need financial consultation because they're not wealthy enough to warrant it. Whereas it seems like it doesn't matter how much money you actually have in the bank, that literacy is important in every sort of circumstance. And you don't need to have all this equity to go like, oh, where should I put this to actually seek out some financial advice. You could be in the opposite bucket, which you probably see. I mean, I imagine in the industry you probably see the two extremes. So either, excuse my French again, but we're fucked. Our debts, we can't pay anything. We've got, debtors calling us. We're really drowning. Help us. Or, hey, I've got all this stuff. What do I do with it? But there's a massive subset of people that fall in between that spectrum that it sounds like you're saying, hey, like you could use this too.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's where Profit First or even the Barefoot Investor, just putting your money aside in buckets, it works.
That's so interesting.
Yeah. And I've worked with people that have made loads of money, a few people in Europe, and that have they've got contracts with American companies, so they earn a lot of money and they've got nothing to show for it at all. And then I've worked with people that have had awful debt and just come out of bankruptcy, and and I put them on. I show them how to pay down that debt, and then they use the same skills that they implemented in paying down that debt to then start building their wealth. Yeah, so it's
One
a
thing
muscle.
I've massively taken out of this conversation, and it's kind of just built as we've been speaking, is just that it is naive to just say I'm just not interested in money, because guess what? You live in a world where we all use it. We're all emotionally attached to it, as we've been chatting about, in some way, shape or form. A lot of our world views are kind of mapped around finances, money, how our parents talked about money, how, we view money as it relates to status, to other people, to where we relate to other people. So it's really, and I'm saying this to myself, it's really not enough just to say whatever, money, because that just ignores a massive part of hey, you're involved too. We all are.
Unless you pack up and you live off the grid and you catch your own food.
Yeah, you need it.
You need it.
What would be, to give people some, I suppose, practical takeaways or maybe some lessons, what are the 3 most common mistakes that you see? And are there 3 practical steps outside of the values and the conversation that people could take from this conversation essentially?
Well, the first one is to just know that you just have to understand how your money works, how much money you've got, what debt you've got. Just understand that landscape and have a plan moving forward.
Yeah, what's your direction?
Exactly, because life goes by really quickly. We're in, September tomorrow?
That's crazy.
It is.
Yeah, my son just turned 1 December last year.
Yeah.
And it's almost about to turn 2.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So just small things. Christmas coming up, got kids, it's a really expensive time of year. I mean, we had Christmas and both my children have birthdays in January. So for us, so start, have that awareness around it. Start putting money aside, start the planning. If you've got any beliefs, if any triggers that you may have, look into why you have them. Is there a reason? Is there something you were told that don't worry about it? Something really interesting. I had a very an auntie who was quite out there, and she had a number of husbands, and she used to say, "Marry for money and love will come next."
Queen.
Yeah,
How'd that work out for her? Yeah,
she worked it all out.
I bet.
She worked it all out. So we all have these different beliefs that come to us. I didn't marry for money. I married, I grew up in the eastern suburbs. I married a tradie from the west. I did the complete opposite to what was expected of me.
Yeah.
35 years later, we're still together.
Yeah.
So, look at why you are the way you are. And also your partner could have those beliefs, you've got these beliefs. What can we do? Talk about it, why we're like this.
So then on that, how do we make sure we don't stuff our own children up? You know what I mean? Because my parents, they always, same as yourself, they really never talked about money. I can remember there being nights where my mum was writing, we had a blackboard next to the home phone, writing numbers on a whiteboard. And I think from memory, that was her bouncing money from credit card to credit card just to kind of pay for our schools and pay for, we play whatever sport we wanted to play. But there was no real lessons other than earn your money and you save your money. I mean, I think the first lesson I ever learnt was Dad, what's this money coming out of my pay? And it was tax when the tax-free threshold was $5,000. But how do we make sure that because I've got 2 daughters and I've got a son, what are the lessons we need to teach them? Obviously, being open and honest. Do you include the children in some of the conversations? How does that work? How would you do it with your children?
Okay, I would really dumb it down. So if your children are little, I'd get, say, Smarties or M&Ms and say, this is your money. And then you can put a little bit away for savings, a bit away for when you want to spend money.
Yep.
And then for something that's nice.
Yeah.
And then you've got money that you can use or money that you can then donate as well. I think it's good to teach children to donate a little bit of what they've got.
For sure.
Yeah. And then you could even have, with Smarties and you could even explain that, mummy and daddy bring money in, or mummy and mummy, or daddy and daddy, whatever it is these days,
for sure.
Whoever.
Yeah.
We bring money in and they have all the Smarties, and you can say, but then we've got to put, the bank we're still paying off the bank from the house. We put a little bit of money there, and then we want to put money away for holidays. And so then they've got that understanding
Cool. I like that.
of how everything comes in and then it gets allocated. I'd also be very careful about what you say. I was very adamant about saying we can't afford that.
Yeah, we try not to say that.
Yes, or money doesn't grow on trees.
Yeah.
So it's no, we're not going to buy that now. Or yes, that looks really good. Let's save for it.
Yeah. Let's work towards that.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's giving them that that mindset that anything is possible. They just need to have a plan, and they've got to see how money works.
Yeah.
Because a lot of kids don't understand it. They just don't. They have no idea. They just think you turn the light on and electricity
It's
on.
also it's very scary for a child to hear we can't afford that.
Yeah, for sure.
Or to, I think sometimes we forget that because those kind of sentences can just roll off the tongue. But if I reflect back on my own childhood, there was fear around that when my parents would go, we can't afford that. And it does create a sort of like, God, are we okay? Like, are we, kids take that stuff in.
They do. And
which
then
is
it
very
wires their brain.
Yeah.
There's that physical.
Yes.
Yeah, reaction to it.
Yeah, and wiring.
Anxiety and
Exactly. And then they think money, anxiety.
Yeah.
We can't afford it. I'm going to be poor. Even it's saying to your child that don't you worry about it. Don't you worry about it,
Yeah, we're really big on trying to figure out ways to have our kids feel like they're contributing in some way. But obviously household and things like that. But I feel like a really good way to strengthen a child's resolve is like that they're needed. We need your help in this. Like,
yes.
whatever it is, whether it's chores or whatever.
Yes.
But yeah, 100%.
Exactly. Or we want to do something as a family around Christmas time and go on a holiday.
Yeah.
Here's all the Smarties.
Yeah.
We have to put the money here to pay the house, and we've got the bills, and we've got all these other things, and just explain it all to them. And then say, okay, so what can we do in order to put money in this little section here that's going to be for our holiday? And then they can come up with ideas, which could be anything from, not with my children, like not having 4-hour showers, or, turning lights off, or not, leaving the milk on the counter and it goes
My kids
bad.
would eat the Smarties and I'd be like, that's why we can't have nice things.
Yeah.
It all comes full circle in that perfect little metaphor when you have kids as young as mine.
I know. But then there could be that, not that you want to reward them with food, but it could still be that reward that you can eat the Smarties once you've worked out.
Yeah.
Pay attention for 2 seconds, you get the Smarties.
Yes.
That's
Or
awesome.
let's work out the puzzle, but how we're going to and make that money or save that money, because it's not about how much money you make. And that's what, I said before. I've worked with people that earn so much, eye-watering amounts of money.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yet they spend
Got
it.
nothing.
Yes.
And they've got nothing left over.
Yes.
And I've worked with people that have, a decent income, but they've actually begun to build their wealth.
Yeah.
Because
and
they've
then,
understood.
I know people that have excess amounts of money, but they are so fearful to use it that it's sort of like you might as well have nothing.
Yes.
So it's just there's all sort of a different spectrum of our attitude versus what we actually have. So I think that's a really interesting takeaway. So it actually doesn't matter about the amount because that means different things to all of us.
It does. And 100 years ago or even 50 years ago, you could pretty much tell someone socioeconomic situation by how they looked and the kind of car they drove.
Yeah. Now you got no idea.
Got no idea because
No, 'cause
the
of
wealthiest
debt.
people
Yeah.
walk around with T-shirts with holes in them.
Yeah.
People that are broke.
Dead up to the eyeballs.
Yeah, exactly. With the European cars and
Yeah,
the
Range
and
Rovers
the
and- yeah.
exactly, and they've got. And I can tell you now, I know a lot of people's bank accounts, and it's not what it seems. So it is a bit. It's and teaching your children that as well, that
Yeah.
it's not about fine. Get yourself the Gucci handbag, but have a plan that you're going to put money aside and then you purchase it.
Yeah, it doesn't affect everything else.
That's it. It's fine if that's what you want. That's what you want, but don't do it at the detriment of putting yourself in debt. So,
Yeah.
So interesting. I've loved this chat. This has been awesome.
Is there anything you would like, I suppose, to say to people kind of moving forward or people to reach out to you or like, how
How would someone get a hold of you that's listening to this to go like, I want to have a chat. Like this is exactly what I need to talk about.
yeah. Oh, I love chatting with people. So get onto my website, Will you put the website?
I'll put all links
Yep,
in the
put it all
bio,
there.
sure.
Yep, website. And I've actually got some really good downloadables, one about money mindset.
Perfect.
Rewiring a money mindset.
Awesome.
Another one for business owners, just getting your business finances sorted as well.
Yeah. And we'll link to your Instagram and socials as well.
Yes.
Because I've seen a couple of cool things on there.
Yep.
Yeah.
I've just co-authored a book from idea to impact that is being launched on the 1st of September.
What's exciting.
Yes. So
Awesome.
other people. So mine's about,
Congratulations.
and it has my story in there about why I do what I do. And it's specifically for either people that are in corporate or their own working as employees that want to start their own business, or if they've started their own business and they want to move to that new level, the next level. There's that one. And I've also got and it's going out, it's being tested at the moment. It's a program called the Worth and Wealth program, and it's for women business owners 40 plus around money mindset, fear, doubt, worry about their own worth and abilities. And then we move into financial education, including profit first. So it's that whole mindset, programming, emotional baggage, and let's understand, let's dive into the numbers. So I've got 10 women at the moment testing that for me before that gets launched, but that's I'm really excited about.
That's so cool. I love that.
Yeah.
That is awesome. And then have you got as well your own black book of contacts in sort of adjacent roles to your own that you could recommend people to based on their situation?
Absolutely. And
Awesome.
I always say that to people, that if I can't help you, I know someone who does.
Brilliant.
And I would know a series of people. And so I'd look at that person that comes to me and say, no, you know, I won't send you there, but I'll send you there.
Yeah.
So it's really pairing them up. Yeah, absolutely.
Brilliant. Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Yep. Yep.
Thank you so much for
That's
this.
okay.
This was,
Yeah.
super eye-opening. And, you know, I have to admit my own bias. I was like, oh, okay, like maybe Chris will take the lead on this one because money's not really my thing. But this is actually really exposed, I think.
Big
for
hole.
me. A big old hole. But, also just really challenged me to think differently about this. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. It's
Yeah,
been
of
great.
course.
Thanks,
I love talking
yeah.
about money.
Yeah. Alice Wilson
Awesome.
too.
Yeah,
Cool.
that was
Yeah.
so good.
Cool.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Oh, great.
That's brilliant.
Great.